Hey, what's up, Geekscapists? Welcome to a brand new Geekscape. If this is your first Geekscape, well, where have you been? We've been around for 15 years, bringing you the latest news and reviews in movies, video games, comics, all that pop culture stuff. And we're glad you're here if this is your first Geekscape. Welcome to the family. We built this thing to be a community. And hopefully we're almost out of this pandemic thing. Within the year, maybe we can all be doing live Geekscapes again. Comic-Con, I got the news yesterday that it was going to be canceled for 2022 summer 2021. I got the email. We've already paid for our booth. We love seeing all of you at the Geekscape booth in San Diego. Sadly, that's not going to happen this summer. They're going to do a Comic-Con at home. There might be a November Comic-Con, like a short mini thing. If so, I'm interested in being there with the Geekscape booth. I start getting vaccinated this week, which is insane. But I do part-time as a college professor like Indiana Jones, and I got off the wait list yesterday. So I signed up for vaccination, and my first shot is tomorrow. This is what I want. I want to get that 5G. I want to get that Spider-Man stuff that'll maybe let me like shoot webs. I'm pretty excited about all of it. But really, I mean, let's be honest. I just want to sit and watch basketball at a Buffalo Wild Wings again. No, that's not very geeky. I'm sorry. I was kidding. I meant I want to see y'all in San Diego and give y'all big hugs. That's what I want to do as soon as I'm vaccinated. So I got 2 shots coming this month. Hopefully they're not delayed. So that is the update here. Geekscapists, I love you. Hopefully you're watching on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook. I think we're going to continue doing the live stream once we come back in person, but we'll be like sitting next to the guest, which is pretty amazing to be able to continue live streaming with y'all, but have the guest in person or remotely. We've got a fantastic guest for y'all today. Lou Ferrigno Jr. is on the show. He's got a brand new film called Dreamcatcher. It's out this Friday on VOD and on demand. It's a horror movie. So those of you who love the horror movie podcast that we have here on the Geekscape Network, Horror Movie Night, you might be big fans of this Dreamcatcher movie. I watched it last night. I'm going to talk to Lou about it. We're also going to talk about his role as Our Man on Stargirl on CW. That might be a little more up your alley. Maybe if y'all are TV fans, y'all like to watch SWAT. But yeah, Lou's on. We're going to be talking about that. And obviously, he is the second Lou Ferrigno that we've had on the show. We had his dad on the show a few years ago. So we'll be talking about his dad and getting raised by a superhero. So yeah, Lou, your dad has been on the show. And let's see, Lou, are you there? I'm gonna try and bring Lou into the studio. I see him a little blacked out here. Again, like this is remote, this is technical stuff. So let me try and get him. He's on his phone. Lou, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Where'd your image go? What's going on with your picture?
I don't know, man. I'm getting calls from people. I'm doing all this press, and all I'm gonna do is talk to you.
Dude, I can't see your face. I'm like freaking out. You're like in the dark.
How do we fix this?
Okay, let's see. Do you want to restart your phone and jump back in? Yeah, let's try that. So Lou's going to restart his phone. He's going to come back, but that's really the topic for now is I get my shot. I'm really excited about it. Again, let me give you all the top 5 things I'm going to do as soon as I get these 2 shots, all right? First thing I'm going to do, go eat it. I'm just gonna I don't know. I'm not gonna change anything. I'm still gonna wear the mask. I'm still gonna social distance. I'm still gonna put out the responsible message of getting us all through this pandemic together. Because again, like I may not see any of y'all until the Geekscape booth at Comic-Con summer 2022, which stinks, but hopefully. Ian Rainey's in the comments. He said maybe you'll just go lick a stranger. I know somebody I'm going to lick. He's in Austin, Texas. His name is Ian Rainey. He's a longtime Geekscape listener. Okay, we got Lou Ferrigno. He's somebody I will not be licking. He's too buff. If I try anything with this dude, he's just going to be like, what are you doing? He'll put me in a headlock. All right. Here is Lou. Lou, you're in. Heidi, my girlfriend, is in the other room watching, and she says, hey, close the closet. Heidi, if you want to come in and close the closet, you're welcome to. The problem is I have a Siamese twin that got removed, and we keep him in a little basket in the closet. It's like a horror movie, and she worries he'll get out and start running around doing stuff. But Big Yanks Big Yanks is in New York. He says, "Come to New York Comic Con 2023." Hey, buddy, listen. we're gonna come out of this pandemic a little slower than I think you believe, but we're gonna get out of it. We'll be good. Lou, how are you doing, buddy? How are you holding up in all this?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing pretty well. I mean, my life as it is it's pretty much I get auditions, I study, I tape, and when I'm not taping, I work out. And then if I don't work out, the three pillars are that, and also painting. So which is very solitary. So when quarantine hit, it wasn't too much of a transition, but still, I mean, like, hey, I'm a hugger. I like to hug people. I'm Italian. I get closer than usual when I talk, and I miss that the most. But everything else, it's I'm keeping a positive attitude, keeping equipment in my car so I can train wherever. But I'm holding up, and I'm staying optimistic about everything.
What do you tell me about the stuff that you keep in your car? Because I've started to keep like a 25-pound barbell in my car, just so that when I'm done with a run, I can like put on like a hit timer on my phone and then just run through like 30 minutes of a hit workout where I'll just throw it on the ground and because I put like 50 miles on my legs a week. Wow. My lower back is what we're like. Sure. My lower back is like, hey, there's Heidi. She's closing the closet. Hey, gorgeous.
Heidi. Don't let Lon go out.
So don't let Lon go out. Don't let him out. So the barbell rolls back and forth when I drive is the only problem. How do you keep what do you put in your car?
Well, first of all, I hate to be too personal, but are you stretching your glutes? Are you keeping those loose? Good. I mean, a lot of back pain. I bought a foam roller. I mean, I've had a foam roller, but in the last year, I've used it religiously. Now I take it to set. I take it everywhere. Lower back, glutes, hamstrings. It'll save you thousands of dollars. IT band for sure. Everything.
IT band. Geekscape is that thing goes from the bottom of your foot up through your butt to your lower back, and it's the first thing that will tighten if you start to exercise. And I know we're getting a little jockscape on this episode, but the truth is staying fit in a pandemic is something that I think some of us have actually gone full into, or have just been like, screw it, it's the end of the world, bring it on. For me, I just like eating a lot of pizza, and I like to eat hamburgers, and I like to eat trash. And the only way I'm going to be able to do that is if I just put a lot of miles on my legs.
But do you have, in your pizza eating, do you have dignity, or do you just eat whatever comes your way? Because I'm very particular with what pizza I will allow inside my body. You seem like a tombstone, don't DGAF kind of guy. Is that?
I just don't give a. Yeah, I'll just eat. I love pizza, but Lou, I'm not Italian. You're Italian, so you're like, no, only the best.
Yeah.
And so you have a higher standard being Italian to the pizza that you like. So
very hard to please.
Yeah. So what are the top spots in LA? That we can't go to right now.
I mean, it's Pizzana. It's this. I mean, but I want to get back to your other question about the equipment. So I had to get super innovative. So I have these power blocks with adjustable weights. Those are great.
The ones that you put slots in and they come out. Yeah, I know. I think that's what I'm going to order, because I can't be having a freaking barbell rolling back and forth in my trunk.
Yeah, I mean, you want to warm up the joints with light weights. I have bands of every color and every culture essentially in the back of my car. And the MVP have been, I needed a project, so I just decided to go online. I looked up how to build parallettes. You know what parallettes are?
No.
They're basically like a freestanding PVC pipe with a base, and you can just do push-ups on them.
Dude, Heidi has that for ballet in our living room. She has it. She has it taller than what you're saying. You're talking about two separate push-up bars.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah, so I have those, but I have those that are just, they were made to be those separate push-up bars.
Yeah, I mean, these are great because I built them, so I feel like wow, I did something useful as a man. And then that with a Bosu ball and a mat, I'm getting pretty good workouts in because I can go anywhere. I go to a park, but it's been tough not having the machines. But it's fine, man. But
I kind of like it. I don't want to be inside. I canceled my last gym membership years ago when I started just discovering that I could. The Hollywood Bowl is a park. It's zoned as a park here in LA. We go and we run the steps every Saturday. We don't do it now because It's closed because of the pandemic, but I can't wait to get back in the bowl. I'm part of a psycho group that we meet at like 6 a.m. on Wednesday mornings at the observatory, Hollywood Observatory, where we go run hills and do things like that. So
What do you
I
weigh?
do miss that a lot. I think I'm away about 185. I'm 6 feet.
Okay, wow, 50 miles a week, huh?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I just like eating trash, and Geekscape has been a part of this fitness journey in the last 10 years. Because when I started Geekscape, if you go back and watch the old video episodes, like I'm not together. I'm not chubby, but like my metabolism going into my 30s was slowing down pretty much.
Mhm.
And you know this because Lou's your father, and Lou's been on the show. I actually
nice.
talked to Lou quite a bit because when I see him at Comic-Con, I'll talk to him quite a bit. But Kenny Johnson, who was the showrunner on Incredible Hulk, you probably know Kenny.
Yeah.
He's been on the show. He's a longtime friend, and so I pretty much talked to everybody in your life except you. like I've done like what's the thing out on the Santa Monica pier? Your dad and your family led it once, where it's Roga. Yeah, the Roga stuff. You go and you run, and then you do yoga on the Santa Monica pier.
Like Ferrigno Fit stuff, right?
It was totally sponsored by Ferrigno Fit for a weekend or two. That's pretty awesome. Is there anybody in your family who's not fit?
No, I mean my brother was pretty heavy as a kid. I was pretty heavy as a kid. My sister was heavy as a kid, but we're all pretty fit now. My sister's pregnant with twins, so she's taking a very justified break from killing it. But in terms of, I've been on the cover of Iron Man and all that stuff, so I take it a little more seriously.
Have you done an Iron Man?
Like a triathlon?
Yeah.
No. I mean, I would like to. The swimming, I'm very dense.
Totally.
Like
the swimming freaks me out.
Yeah, I like to keep a tight waistline and abs, and with that is like a low body fat percentage, and I just sink so fast, and I'm like, I'm good. And plus, like, I don't want to be swimming in water where I don't know. It's not my home. It's these fish's home, and I'm walking around in their home, and then you don't know what's in there. I'm like, I'm good. I'm on the road. I'm good running.
But Lou, what if Malibu has a sprint every year in May? They're not going to have it this year, but they have a Malibu sprint, which is like a 5K, a limited bike, and a limited swim. And that's something that like my running friends have been like, just do the sprint. Just do the sprint. You don't have to buy a bike. You can borrow one, because the bike is like super expensive. And then the swimming, like I can't get the rhythm on the swimming, dude. Yeah. My neck hurts when I get out of the freaking swimming because I don't turn my head properly to like breathe. Like my head goes completely out of the water to breathe.
Yeah.
My form is trash. I am not Aquaman, okay, Geekscapists? But if I do this Santa Monica, I'm going to send you an email. We're going to do the Santa Monica sprint, and I think we could do that and get our feet wet.
Okay.
It's shorter. It's a 5K in like a short cycling, and then like I think it's like less than 500 yards to swim.
Okay, that's doable.
That's what I'm saying.
I'll consider it. Definite maybe.
Okay, Geekscapists, if you want to jump in on that, let us know. I know that y'all have been on a bit of a fitness journey as well. For me, it just came out of, I think we can talk about like depression just being a way to combat it. So in the pandemic, as you have been battling depression, we've all been kind of isolated. For me, I'm a big hugger too, and I like getting together with friends. I've just kind of ramped it up and been like, hey, when race season comes back, I'll be ready to take on some more ultras and things like that. Like I've just kind of gone full bore into running when I have that time. I'll go out and just do miles every day. When you were overweight, Lou, as like a younger kid, what were the steps that started to take you out of it? And like, what's something that my audience can do if they're like, you know what, let's get ourselves out of this pandemic mindset. Let me start climbing out of this. What were the steps that you took to start putting that together for yourself? Because it's not always an upward trajectory.
Sure. What I start with is before I advise what to do and what to add to your program, I encourage people to stop certain behaviors. So stop drinking soda. Soda has empty calories. Sugar will just pack on weight because you pound a soda and 200 calories are just gone. So I stopped the soda, stopped the processed fast foods. I used to eat a lot of fast foods. They taste good, but like I had McDonald's 10 years ago, and I remember I got home and I was like, this is not good. I feel
It like
terrible.
slows you down. You're like,
Yeah, and
afterwards.
I'm full for like 6 hours. I'm like, dude, no. If when you're hungry, like I've been really kind of in tune with my body because when your stomach grumbles, that's basically your body saying, "Yo, eat now if you want to keep your metabolism up to keep this whole ab fat burning process going." And then people ignore that, keep working, and then your metabolism dips. So I always suggest stop with the soda, stop with this, stop eating late. That's huge. And then slowly start because I was a trainer for 10 years. I supported myself my dad had a gym that I was fortunate enough to use, and I had about a lot of clients, and I worked with kids at a rehab center in Malibu. So I've dealt with children, I've dealt with elderly patients or clients, so I know how to approach certain people. And some people have never worked out before in their life and never came back, and then some people never worked out before and their lives have been completely changed just by methods, exercise, and knowing where to gauge people because it can be a lot and it can be overwhelming. And even looking the way I look, people would be like, "Oh, you're probably too intense. It's too this," but it's really not. But
It's
yeah,
it's
so
just habit changing. It's just
yeah,
changing habits and like not being discouraged at how gradual this actually is. You know what I mean?
yes,
Because
absolutely.
so
I mean,
much of this is just my writing process. It's like,
mhm,
oh, I have to write later today, so let me go break a scene in my head, or let me go think about what I'm going to write about in order to get past this next hurdle, deadline, etc.
yeah, it's wild because people, I know I have a lot of friends that like are getting plastic surgery and doing all this and changing their bodies, and it's like you have to eat for sustenance. You have to eat and drink water. So whatever you're putting in your body doesn't have a choice whether what you feed it. So if you feed it, can I touch
Yeah, yeah,
crappy
you can
foods?
curse. It's the
I call them
internet,
shitty foods. So if you eat
right?
shitty foods, processed foods with stuff that you can't even pronounce, your body's like, all right, I guess we'll take it, and so it metabolizes that. It doesn't pull nutrients out of it. And the biggest gains and the best responses I've seen have been, it's not a sexy answer, but from the simplest foods. I was talking to a guy who was just excuse after excuse after excuse. And then finally he's like, and he's overweight. And finally he was like, oh, my leg, my this. And then he's like, no, I just can't eat like that. It's too expensive. I'm like, now I have to stop you because it's not. A bag of frozen vegetables is $1. A head of if you start, and now what I've said is before I get into the spiel of fitness because I just go on and on and on. I know I've from playing football, from recovering from my ACL
That's how we are
surgery.
about Marvel movies. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like sit down, eat a head of broccoli, the whole thing
Yeah.
raw with water, and start there because it gets super dull and boring quick. And if you can withstand that that dull flavor and the monotony of chewing and all that, afterward you're gonna first of all half of it's gonna be water. You're gonna feel like you're just gonna have a response to your body where it's like you literally paid what $1.12 for a full meal. Your jaws being worked, your body's metabolizing, and you literally ate like zero bad calories. It's tough, but it sounds like oh you had broccoli. Once you get done with half that broccoli, it's it's drudgery. So if you can finish that whole thing of broccoli, then I think you're on to the next step, and I suggest that to anybody.
Can you put a little salt on it or something?
Nope. Try it.
Oh, okay. All right.
But what I do is I'll be doing dishes. I'll stuff my face full of broccoli, raw broccoli. I'll chew as I'm doing things,
Like,
and then
yeah, you
when
got to
it's
be doing something.
yeah, and then wash it down, and then I'll just until that's gone. And I'm telling you, I don't think about food. I don't, and it sucks, but that's the quickest way that I got lean to do. And I did the cover of Iron Man.
And
It doesn't.
now we're gonna peer pressure you into doing an Iron Man. You'll see. You'll see.
Oh, the other Iron Man.
That was a big maybe. Big. Yeah,
Definitely.
Geekscape. If you're sitting down watching WandaVision this Friday, just grab yourself a head of broccoli and just eat the damn thing during WandaVision. Drink some water. You'll enjoy it. Don't
By
worry.
the way, I have a question. Why does WandaVision end? It's an hour show, but it's like 38 minutes, and then there's like 40 minutes of credits. I'm like, what
Yeah,
the
there's a lot of
why?
credits.
It's
There are a
kind of frustrating.
lot of credits in WandaVision. And I mean, The Mandalorian didn't have long credits. So if we're
No,
talking about Disney Plus, like in their credits had like artwork and stuff like that. There's,
yeah,
you know, I don't know. The long credits, I think that there's just a huge amount of people working on that show because there's so much digital
True.
stuff going on. But we didn't notice it on Mandalorian because we had these beautiful images from the
Yeah.
episode to sit through, and we sat through them because we loved those images. They were pretty
Yeah.
amazing.
Did you like
As far as
WandaVision?
I love WandaVision. I think it's great. We'll see Geekscape us. We won't be I mean, I think it's great. I think it's smart. I think that this past episode did a lot to explain Wanda and Vision's relationship that we didn't get in like Civil War or in Age of Ultron.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like, oh, we got it. The grief brought them together.
Mm-hmm.
This is great. And we'll see how it wraps up. There are all sorts of rumors going around. And I know that I'm trying to avoid a lot of stuff on the internet, but Geekscape us next week. Ian and I will get together and we'll give you like a full breakdown of it. We like to break down all the major Marvel stuff.
Dude, that's what I do. Finally,
It's like,
I met someone.
Yeah, well, you're welcome to do that anytime on Geekscape.
Okay.
You were raised by the Incredible Hulk.
I was.
He didn't pressure you into fitness, but this stuff was just around. Is that kind of how it worked out?
So I, right around, I think like 8, 9, right before puberty, I started getting aware of my body, and that's when I started to thicken up. And this was like the same time when my dad came back to bodybuilding, and he was just probably one of the biggest people on the planet. I mean, if I show you pictures, dude, if online, he's so big. He was walking around at like 335, 340, 6'4.5", massive, size 16 shoe. And everywhere I go, I mean, he was my dad, but like I was always used to him not only being everybody knowing who he is because he was so famous, but he was the biggest dude that would command everybody's attention. So that left me being completely unacknowledged as if I was invisible. So I would see this monster of a man. So and he was competing with Olympia world champions and world professional athletes. So there was no like middle ground. I was just looking at the pinnacle of bodybuilding and getting in shape. So I was like, what am I going to do? And then I just remember one time, I mean, I got bullied a bunch. The kids would kind of say some dumb shit, and I like still stuck with me. But you know what? Like,
Wait,
it drove
they would bully you knowing who your dad was.
Yeah, there was like
that's idiotic.
It was, yeah. I mean, I was such a nice kid, and I was always, because my dad. Look, if I acted up, I got the Incredible Hulk down the way, ready to, he's the nicest guy, but if he gets angry, he gets loud, and he's just a monster of a
You don't
man.
like him when he's angry. Yeah, you wouldn't like him when he's
Yeah,
angry.
yeah.
Right.
Exactly. But I mean, it was always, it's just dumb, it's stupid. But I'm grateful for those opportunities because it actually drove me, and I still think about them today. And I'm like, kids are so mean sometimes. But this whole anti-bullying thing is like, it's a part of human nature to bully people. But for me personally, being bullied, I still think about it, and it drives me. And like, as if it was yesterday, I remember what these kids would say to me, and I'm like, no, not today. So that's how I feel about that. But
that drove you to start wanting to change things physically for yourself.
So, and then puberty hit, and then I started getting more self-conscious, and then I started, and then
you had a goal. You had a goal. You were like, oh, girls.
Yeah, I mean, just not feeling like the total, like, because then people would look at him, and then they look at me, and then they wouldn't even think I was his son, because how could his son be this fat kid? And I was like 5'7", and I dipped the scales at like 190, and then that's when I was like, enough is enough. And then at the same time, it was when I kind of had a growth spurt. So then I started to just lean out, started running, and then that went into football training. But then after college, that's when it really started becoming more of an aesthetic, and then building my body in the way that like Michelangelo would actually sculpt, or something that's I can look at and reference from my paintings. I paint a lot of comic book stuff. I paint a lot of anatomically correct. I love the flow of anatomy. So that's how that started.
And that's really your thing. So like that is what you're a geek for, is saying, hey, like, how can we get the human form to be celebrated?
Yes.
In a way. And you celebrate it. I mean, in comic books obviously do that. Like we have these Adonises in comic books. And I think that there is a level of vicarious living in reading comic books just naturally. We read these comic books, we see these feats of fantasy, we see a moral code that is something to strive for, but then there's also that physical thing where, and can it be detrimental for someone like a girl to see how a female superheroine looks and think, oh, I should look more like that? Does that make sense? Like, how do you wrap that one where for a while, I'm talking about those 90s comics, it was all boobs.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like,
one of my favorites.
J. Scott Campbell. Remember, the Mary Jane artwork where people were kind of joking around and they were trying to do the Mary Jane pose, but it wasn't natural.
Yeah, I mean, like I've seen a few girls in my day that resembled bodies like that had the shape and the proportions. But that's very genetic to have. J. Scott Campbell captures the female essence and just sexiness in a way. And I grew up loving these artworks, and now with Instagram, I can actually see the person that does these things, and I'm geeking out all the time. I'm following all these artists. It's just mind blowing. So, but either way, the body's meant to move. It should be moving. It should be exercising, because no one asks the body what the body thinks, because the body's a machine. It's what our mind thinks. So if you're like, oh no, that's not good for me, well, your body is the body doesn't get a say. Your body is essentially like this machine that your head's on top of. Your body's made to move. That's why we had endorphins from running. You can tell you get a response. That's why you feel good after exercise. Some of these girls, young girls I train, were like, "Oh, working out makes me depressed." I'm like, "No, that's a lie. They're afraid because they see someone like me and they're like, well, I don't want to look all big and buff." I'm like, nobody's that lucky. So I think it's never a bad thing to exercise, and I think like you can't really. It's artwork, so you can't really say, "Oh, that has to be where you have to achieve."
Yeah, we can't exactly shoot lasers out of our eyes either. So, like, at what point do you just stop that and say, "Oh, right, I don't have adamantium claws and a healing factor, so maybe I should stop aspiring to." At least I'm taller than Wolverine. I think I'm going to be happy with that one.
Well, who's going to play Wolverine?
I know this guy. His dad was a superhero. Who would be good for Wolverine? I'm talking about you. I don't know which X-Men. I mean, while we were talking about this, Derek Cranevelt from the Geekscape network. Geekscape Games is back. The show that Derek hosts is back on the network. They're talking video games, so you can download that. But he says, I just got my first ever perfect month on my Apple Watch, and for February, I've had a watch for 5 years and have never earned it before. I work at home on a computer all day, so I've had to be so deliberate about it. And I think there's something to be said for that, Derek and Lou, where there's a video game element, at least for me, where I get on Strava, which is a running app, and I see like my friends on Strava, and I start being like, oh shit, this guy's got, this guy put in 9 miles today, so I got to put in 10. This person put in, and then by the end of it tells us our totals for the week. And so I know that if I want to compete with 2 or 3 of these people who are always getting like 50 in a week, I need to be getting somewhere like 52, 56. And like last week, I was feeling pretty good.
How do you know that someone didn't put it on their dog? Like I've seen people do. How do you know that?
No way. Well, I see these people. So someone, some of these people are, again, people that I would meet in the real non-pandemic times, and we do run. So these are people that I will race against when this is all over. You know what I mean? So I'll see them at the marathons. I'll see them at the ultra marathons, and then I'll see them on weekends at Griffith Park putting the work in. You know what I mean? So these are people that I see putting it in, and it's a fun culture of competition. And there is an app that I look at that makes it feel like a video game. There are like badges and achievements, like you're playing your Xbox, and I get into that. And there's no trash talking. But I definitely do leave a few comments that are like, what happened? Did you forget to start your watch?
So let me ask you a question. So if you're doing ultras, if you're running a lot of miles a week, burning a lot of calories. Now, I see some of these ultra guys, and they are like muscle and skin. Like they're like anatomy charts, just ripped. And may I ask, what is the reason for that? Is your diet? Are you just not?
It's diet.
Strict?
Yeah,
okay.
I love to. It's like it's just I like to eat junk.
Okay.
And I
What
know
do
you're
you
gonna
count?
yell at. I know you're gonna let. No, it's like a sandwich or a hamburger. You know what I mean, or
Okay.
like a pizza.
Okay.
So
What's
I
that
don't
like?
go. I don't eat. I don't. I'm not like it's ice cream time. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Like I don't go crazy
Okay.
because that will fuck me up. Like that.
Yeah.
You get out there and you're at mile 20, 25, and then you feel that. You know what I mean? Like
Sure.
I had and I set races. Like I had a race January 9th that got canceled, and it was a 50K that was supposed to be up in like mid California, and it got canceled, but I was trained up for it. And I did like a 71-mile week and all this stuff to train up for it.
Oh,
And it got moved to September. And I was like, well, fuck it. My legs feel good. I don't know what I'm going to look like. You know, training in the summer is hard because
sure.
it's heat. And so I was like, I don't know what September is going to look like for me. So I'm here now. I'm going to go out, and I mapped a course that was 32 miles. And I was like, let me just knock it out once, that same morning. And it was beautiful and it was fun.
Do you listen to music? Do you listen to podcasts?
I have a training partner. Yeah, I have one or two training partners, and they've all
So
had
you-
their shots. They're all nurses and doctors. So, I'm the late one to the.
But do you like what keeps you busy during these runs? Or are you just with nature? Like nothing
I
is
listen to podcasts. So I listen
okay.
to. We have like 12 podcasts on the network. I listened to yesterday. I was running and I was listening to One Hit Thunder, which is our One Hit Wonder podcast about music. And I just started screaming in Balboa Park because Matt Kelly, who runs our podcast network, he started talking about how great this one hit wonder was of the New Radicals. You know, that you get what was it? It was New Radicals. I am not even going to try and sing it for
Da,
you.
da, da, you gotta get what you did.
That's it.
That one?
You
Okay.
got it.
Yeah.
So
Don't
they have
give
another
up.
song. Matt Kelly's like all their songs are great. He plays a sample of a song that is like a total ripoff of the Rolling Stones' "Sympathy for the Devil." And I'm in Balboa Park running, and I hear this thing come on the podcast, and they're like, "Oh my god, the New Radicals! They had a bunch of songs that could have been hits." And I start screaming. I was like, "That song's off! Get rip off!" I get to my car afterwards. I start texting. I'm like, "Guys, what the hell are y'all talking about? This So I listen to the network. I try and listen to all the shows on the network to make sure that the network's going well. I like the podcasts. If I need to like get a little speed, I'll put on some music and get myself pumped. But that is kind of what I'm into.
Cool.
Because you're out there for 5-6 hours sometimes.
Yeah. Whenever
Just
I do
feeling
cardio and I have someone to talk with, I mean, time flies by. So,
It flies.
Yeah.
So I think I get recruited by my friends because they're like, "Hey, Jonathan, tell us what script you're working on."
Nice. No, you're
I go
right.
out there. Well, I beat it out. It's a good way to beat out a story with people who aren't film people.
Sure. Okay.
Like
Very cool.
they don't have skin in the game.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about. Well, you know what? I want to show you a video of your dad coming on Geekscape. Okay. I got this video. I think now the audio's not great. I think you'll hear it though. But your dad was addicted to Angry Birds. Did you know that? Do you remember the Angry Birds addiction phase of your dad?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tetris, he was obsessed, and then Angry Birds, he's like, and then putt, mini putt or something.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to play putt. Please leave me alone.
Yes, your dad is a major like portable gaming nerd.
Yes.
And I had him on the show, and here's a video clip. The audio's not great, but here's a video clip of him on the show. Have you heard the story about his luggage in Miami? Because that's one of my favorite Lou Ferrigno stories. Let's see if you can hear this. It's pretty amazing.
Here's something that you guys may not know about Lou. You play video games. Well, you played Angry Birds.
Angry Birds, yeah.
You were addicted to Angry Birds.
I told you, one time I was on a flight for 6 hours, felt like for 20 minutes. Because I was stuck on one level.
What was the level?
It would used to be 4 pillars. And you have to almost knock down 4 barriers. You have to send so many birds to the very end. So I learned that when you collect the bird twice, you increase the speed. I didn't know that.
Yeah, you click it again and he like dive bombs.
But I didn't know that.
How did you put it down?
I couldn't. One time I got Angry Birds, I went at the wrong bank claim. I didn't get my luggage. I took someone else's luggage because I was so involved playing the Angry Birds that I didn't pay attention.
He took somebody else's luggage.
To my hotel room, I opened a suitcase. I see a whole bunch of condom, sex toys, everything was somebody else's suitcase.
You went into this. Wait, you literally you took someone else's suitcase at the
Yeah,
airport,
because it looked just like my suitcase.
and you were paying attention to the Angry Birds, and it wasn't until you got to the hotel
Right,
that you realized it was
I
someone
opened
else's.
the suitcase, I swear to God.
It was some
all
sex criminals, it was
toys,
like-
condoms, everything, the guy was like a sex, nut. I tell you, I can't stop laughing, when I opened that suitcase, my God.
Well, first of all, notice how gigantic his fingers and his hands are. So the fact that he can actually play efficiently is like shocking to me.
Yeah, that is one of my favorite Geekscape moments is when your father came on and talked about getting a mistaken, like taking the wrong luggage at the airport because he was addicted to Angry Birds, and then opening up and, we're not going to kink shame, but let's just hope that he went and returned to the luggage. I mean,
Yeah, no,
that
he's
stuff
good
didn't
about
show up
that.
in the house, did it?
One time, no, I think I briefly remember something like that. But I remember he used to pick us up from school when we were young, and it was when the Game Boy, well, it was like a block.
It's a
like
brick,
the
yeah.
the first Game Boy. So he found out about what Game Boy was, so then he would play Tetris, and he was so dialed in with his Tetris that when we would come home, there was like a series of lights that we'd have to hit in order to get home, street lights. And this one would take like, sometimes a minute, maybe 3 minutes. So one time we pull up, we stop, he stops the car, opens his console, plays, I'm looking around, all right, red light, and he goes, puts it down, boom, light, ding, we start driving. I'm like, what? I was like, you
Dude, he was like texting and driving before it was a thing.
I'm
glad he got past that phase. I'm glad y'all survived that.
Yeah, it's funny when he gets hooked on something. It's just like you wouldn't believe what happened with Angry Birds today, and I'm like, dude, what? Tell me, entertain me.
Do you play any of that stuff? Do you get into video games at all?
I used to be a big gamer back in the day, but now it's I spend my time painting because I went through a nice bout of depression when I tore my ACL playing at USC. And so I couldn't, and so I couldn't really gaming. Like I would make whole teams in Madden, and then it would all go to nothing. So I wanted something to show for it. So I started really painting, and it's become so rewarding to me. And I know that once I play a game, you get immersed, but that time for me doesn't really go anywhere. It's just left in the game. So at least with painting, I have something to show for it at the end of the day.
And so you picked up painting when you shredded your ACL.
Yes.
And that was it. I've torn my right ACL twice, and it's just like that year that you're just on the shelf recuperating is one of the most depressing months that you can have. Just trying to figure, because your muscles atrophy. And that one moment where you're trying to lift your leg and you realize that like your quads just aren't going to lift your leg, and they've just flattened out. When they have to start using electrodes on your legs, Geekscapist, just to get the muscles to clench again, and then you have to try and hold the clench over and over again just to wake your quads back up, to remind your muscle how to work, just to elevate, just to lift your leg. Like simple stuff, and you just take it for granted when this stuff doesn't work. And I know I tore it a second time because I was an 18-year-old invincible a-hole who was just like, I'm young, I'm gonna bounce back, I don't have to do the physical therapy, I'm good.
Oh
and
my God!
You know what? Hey, Hulk didn't raise me.
What graft did you go with?
Oh, I got the patella graft on the first time, and then I got a cadaver the second time. So I got a cadaver replacement for my anterior cruciate ligament the second time, and then I had like these psychic flashes of a murderer, and like I started seeing who killed me. I'm kidding, that's a joke.
So you had like this leg that started kicking people.
I started having this leg. I could suddenly dunk a basketball. No, tearing my ACL was the last time I dunked a freaking basketball. Like that was over.
You gotta do. I always did what I was told because there was no room to wiggle with. No wiggle room with my father. So when it came to the rehab, it was monotonous and it was tedious, and I was like, whatever. But I did it, and I also a running back while at SC with me tore his ACL as well, but he didn't do it. He's like, I'm not going to rehab, whatever. And so he got back in there. He's after about 3 months, he's good, and then one false step, it snaps again. I mean, it's so crucial, no pun intended, to do the post-op rehab because you have to learn how to walk again. And there's so many, like you look at the body and you see muscles, but underneath the muscles there are muscles, and between that there's tendons that you have to strengthen. And But going through that, I did both, so I feel like now I'm balanced. But like it's such a test on your.
You tore both your left and your right.
Yeah, 15 years old and then 20 years old, both playing football.
I only tore my right, and it affects to this day. I pronate an ankle, like one of my feet. I have to consciously keep from pronating out because I'm just still like, it's always like if you have an issue with one knee, it goes into your opposite ankle.
Sure.
because you're adjusting for the knee. And even though it's been almost 20 years on that right knee, it's still something that if I'm not careful and like consciously trying to keep my foot straight, by the time I am done with mileage, I'm going to feel pretty wonky in my hip and everything. It's just going to throw everything out of alignment.
Yeah. I did my left one. I partially tore my freshman year in high school, played a full sophomore season on it, fine. And then junior year, it's just one false step, it just gave out. And it's wild, like when you do go certain ways, it gives out. It's like, It's a crazy feeling that whole like lateral ability is completely taken away. And then at USC, I had that, and I was cool and I was fine. But my right leg was like just this beautiful, healthy leg. And that happened. And it was like a full blown, like, I was like, I heard everything.
Meniscus and everything.
Lateral meniscus. Like, if you're looking at my leg, it literally went like that.
Dude, my freaking thing like went crazy. Like it buckled.
Yeah.
And I remember playing the basketball game and people were like, oh, you just sprained your knee. And I took like 2 steps and it like buckled again. And I was like, nope. This is not good.
These little rubber bands, these little tendons. And it's like, it's crazy.
It's like when we used to blow those GI Joes in half with black cats by those little rubber bands that are in the middle of GI Joes.
Yeah.
And you'd fit a black cat right in the middle of it and blow them in half. That little rubber band was so important to your GI Joe. And
Very
just
true.
like that, your GI Joe is worthless. Why did we destroy our toys? Why were we such pyromaniacs as kids? We destroyed fortunes of like superheroes and action figures. Do you like playing this Hour Man on Stargirl? I know it's been 1 or 2 episodes, but Geekscape is like you get to play like a Silver Age DC hero, dude. Like that's gotta be cool.
Dude, I'm glad we're talking about this because nobody really understands. I'm on set dressed as Hour Man, and I got pics that I have that are just awesome. I got everything is tailored to my specifications as if I was Rex Tyler that made this suit. So I had to go as a funny story, and I'm talking with Jeff Johns in full Hour Man suit, and Jeff Johns is awesome.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
and it's his show. Like they gave him that show to run.
Yeah, and he's just, and I'm talking to him as Hour Man. I'm like, whose else approval do I need? I am Rex Tyler. I am Hour Man. So I got back to and the suit is like phenomenal. I mean, there's like a muscle suit, and then there's Euro jersey, and
do you need the muscles? When they give you the muscle suit, are you like, come on, guys, what the fuck?
Well, here's the thing. So I've thought a lot about this because I've always thought that I was going to play a superhero. So superheroes. So I have a pronounced jaw and chin, right? So the typical person that's playing a superhero would think, I need to bulk up. I need to be a superhero.
Sure.
But not because the superheroes are always ripped and shredded in bits. So based on my history with bodybuilding and what I know, you can't maintain that level of muscular size and density and be as ripped as possible. It's just that's not me. That's my son. You wait till you see me in the outfit. I look pretty damn cool. So you need to be. So you can't be that big and shredded the way they are in the comics because it's just unnatural. You're gonna have to have.
It's like a Rob Liefeld.
Yeah.
It's like a Rob Liefeld drawing, and we love Rob.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So with how intense the Euro jersey stretch is, no matter how, if I wanted, let's say for instance, I wanted to get on a bunch of juice and become this jacked bodybuilder guy. Well, that also affects the muscles in my face. And being as shredded as I would need to be an actual superhero, it's all about this for a superhero, essentially. Yeah. So I just stay super lean, and I don't have. I mean, the steroids and all that stuff that you would have to take as a human being to be a superhero in the comic books. It affects too many things to make it realistic. So keeping the waist thin, but the shirt, the jersey is so the way because they have these little Hour Man markings all patterned on the Euro jersey. So if I were to put that on me right now, and by the way, I played a character called Super Sammy on Caesar Milan's Mutton Stuff, where there was just spandex, and it was awesome. It was like a preschool Superman. You can find that on YouTube. But that was just spandex. But given the tightness of the Euro jersey, I would look just like a thinner guy, because it would totally. It's like wearing a neoprene suit. So they have to have that larger than life look. But with my face being lean and the muscle suit, I almost look like I can pull off these muscles. So it's cool.
The steroid thing always concerns me, because people, when they talk about steroids, they think, oh, it'll help my arms and my shoulders, and it'll help, the muscles that I want it to. It goes into your system and it affects all the muscles, Geekscapists, especially the important ones that are very inside of your body, like your freaking heart. And my brother was a WWE wrestler for about 9 years, Geekscapists. You know Paul's career probably better than I do. And I just remember the day he called me that they had found one of the wrestlers on the floor of his bathroom with his toothbrush still in his hand, because the steroids had finally just given him a heart attack. And if Geekscapists are listening to this and they're wondering like why Paul didn't have a longer WWE career, it was because the option to do that many shows a week and to have that road, that career of being on the road all the time and doing pay-per-views and this and that, it just battles your body. And if you're not getting big enough to be able to take the hits that many times a week, then you're probably not going to last that long. And for cruiserweights like himself, like Paul, who are doing a lot of flips and a lot of athleticism, like first off, steroids just weren't an option, because he remembers Eddie Guerrero being on the floor of his bathroom with his toothbrush in his hand. So like the steroids thing, are there safe steroids? Or I mean, because it seems like something like a danger that if you're coming out of surgery or something and you need steroids, it just seems dangerous.
Okay, so steroids is like an umbrella term, right? So
Sure.
Then there's also within that there's testosterone derivatives, and there's different types of anabolics, and then there's HGH. Completely different beasts. Now, when it comes to testosterone derivatives and it comes to steroids as it is, yes, it will make your muscles bigger, but it's making all your muscles bigger. And not only that, it's messing with, nobody really thinks about it, but we have a natural endocrine system that deals with hormones and hormone regulation. So we have a natural balance of testosterone and estrogen as men. So here's the testosterone, here's the estrogen. It's always producing to match your own level of what it is. So if you take all this fake testosterone and boost it up to here, yeah, you feel great, but then all of a sudden your natural receptors turn off because you're getting enough. Your body's not going to produce it if you're getting it. So then what happens is your body has to regulate. So then it boosts up your estrogen to meet where you should be. So then for a few weeks, you're doing great. Then you get off the cycle. And then literally, since your testosterone production system is shut down and it hasn't been utilized, all your testosterone goes, so now you're left with all this estrogen if you don't take post-cycle therapy. So that starts to mean, and you become more of a female type of disposition. You're highly emotional.
I may have had one of my brother's peers in the WWE discover that he was lactating in the backseat of my car when I was driving him to a show in San Bernardino.
Sure.
I almost drove off the road. He was like squeezing his chest in the back seat.
Yeah.
And I elbowed my brother, and I was like, Paul, what is he doing? And my brother asked, and this wrestler was squeezing his chest and then like checking out his hand. And he said, I think I'm like milking. And
it's leaking out, right?
It was like leaking. And I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Wow. I mean, we're such different genders in terms of men and women in our bodies as adults, but we're basically the same thing, and we just develop these certain traits. So men have mammary glands, like a uterus and a vagina, for lack of a better term,
sure,
is essentially an inverted penis and testicle. So everything, and then also just based on hormones, everything kind of just separates into two different categories, so like a quintessential man and a quintessential woman. But when you start messing with when you're older as a man, your testosterone depletes, and if you do testosterone TRT replacement therapy, that can be done. But then also you have to be careful because with HGH, it's like a
Unnatural.
miracle. It's a miracle drug, but it's also a fountain of youth. However,
Uh-huh.
whereas testosterone is you have a certain number of muscle cells after you're born, after you go through fat cells and muscle cells after you go through puberty. So if you get testosterone, you take testosterone as a young man, the cells that you have just blow up, and essentially that's what they do. They just get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then until you're off, then they go back down. With HGH, you're actually building new muscle cells, and it affects every cell in the body except your ocular and your hair cells. Problem with that, and it sounds great, but the problem with that is if you have any dormant cancer cells and you take HGH and you haven't gotten your blood work and you're unaware, you're literally giving yourself cancer by multiplying.
Like you're feeding your cancer.
Yep, exactly. So then you get off it and you're like, all of a sudden you have stage 3 liver cancer, and you're like, what the hell? So, but either way, when it comes to testosterone and taking steroids and the gains you may look great and everything, but you go back to where you were, and in the long run, it's really not worth it. You may feel nice, but you don't keep much of the gains.
Geekscape, this Friday, you got to be watching the WandaVision with that broccoli. Okay, that's what I want. I want you all to be eating the broccoli. Bold T just in response to the story says, "Oh my God, Jonathan, yeah, it was kind of not something that I wanted in the backseat of my car, and in that backseat of my car has been a horror show, Geekscape, and that was like the worst. So don't put that out of your mind. Speaking of horror, Lou, let's talk about this movie. You've got coming out also Friday. When you're done with WandaVision, get on that VOD and on demand and watch this movie. I watched it last night. It's called Dreamcatcher, and this Dreamcatcher, Lou, you're like the top billing on the Dreamcatcher. And again, I think that the Geekscapists who listen to like Horror Movie Night will enjoy Dreamcatcher because it's a horror movie. It's like a slasher movie that takes place in the world of like EDM music and raves and festivals like that. So maybe take some Molly and watch it. I don't know. I'm not going to tell you to do that. Don't do that. Strike that. But watch this Dreamcatcher. It takes place in that world. Lou, I wanted you to be in this movie a lot more. And not to say that you shouldn't watch this Geekscape, but if you're watching for Lou, like I was like, where's my guy? Because I think my guy is going to put a stop to this Dreamcatcher. There. This is Jonathan. You have 5 more minutes left on the show. Alarm that luckily the Burbank Fire Department was nice enough to drive past my house and announce that we have 5 minutes left on the show. If you're watching this for Lou, like Lou, I wanted you to be in this movie more. That's what I gotta say. It's a slasher movie, and I think slasher fans will like it. But I wanted more Lou.
Yeah, I mean, I take it as a compliment. I mean, it is a rough business, and it's hard to get a job as it is. But it's funny because of the few films that I've done, a few of them, I've been in smaller parts, but yet, I don't know if it's because it's my name, but I'm also working a lot on TV, but like they put me as like top billing on all these things, which leads me to believe that people like what I'm doing. I have a small part, but I think it definitely does the job. But I do until Nightshade comes out, which was my first big full lead, which is going to be awesome. You're going to have to wait and just get what you're given here because it's going to happen. And I know it. We
got to have you back for Nightshade. Like, I do want to talk Dreamcatcher, but Nightshade, are you like a producer on Nightshade? Is like something like you were a bigger part of? Yep. Yeah. I mean, I think that you've got a long TV career, which is great. And now, like, you're making are you making I mean, not that you're going to leave TV behind, but are you adding this film stuff to your repertoire? And the role in Dreamcatcher is part of building those blocks of putting yourself into films so that you can have a nice presence in both.
Yeah, Jonathan, I mean, it's like, look, it doesn't really matter what anyone thinks or if they believe me. I believe, and I know because I've had visions of where I'm going to be. So I know that I will be there. I just need to do the necessary steps to get there. But nobody's ever really interested in the grinding and the day-to-day stuff that gets you to places. It's always, oh my God, well, of course he's a star. He looks like a star. Of course, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, not necessarily. It's a day in, day out questioning of your existence. You're
Ain't that right?
It's one of the hardest jobs on the planet, man. And I mean, with this job, I came off of 911 and I just loved the script and I just wanted to be involved. But I mean, it's an intense scene that I'm in. But at the same time, I'm like, there's a reason why my star meter is super high after I'm on television, if not the highest on SWAT. It's like, It's not. I'm nothing I'm doing. It's people are liking whatever I'm doing on screen, which is a good motivator. But it's going to happen, my friend. So this is going to be. It's. I don't need anyone else's. I don't. I believe in myself, and I believe it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen, and that's all it takes. It just takes time.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've got us here, and for sure. Like, what was the name of the next movie?
Blackout's going to come out soon. That's with Josh Duhamel and Nick Nolte. Small thing too there. But Nightshade is going to be. I think it may. We don't know where it's going to go. I don't want to throw anything out yet.
Sure.
Distribution's tricky, but it's going to happen because all the stuff that I'm doing is just has major legs. I mean, season 4 SWAT. That was the first pilot I booked, and then it's been season 4. Stargirl turns out to be a huge hit, and now I'm this character. So, there's all these jobs that I wish I would have gotten, but things happen as they should.
Sure.
So
Sure.
I'm very lucky.
And I mean, this Dreamcatcher thing, like, you know what? Like, Geekscape is, if y'all watch this thing on Friday, who knows? Maybe there's a Dreamcatcher sequel, and in that one, maybe Lou comes back and he fights the Dreamcatcher. And maybe let's just build the mythos where Lou comes back and it's Lou Ferrigno Jr. versus the Dreamcatcher, and he can only get a sequel if y'all watch this movie on Friday.
And now I know why you run so much. This is good. Let's start this script.
Let's do it. Yeah, we could. You can come up and you can grab the Dreamcatcher and be like, "Hey, Dreamcatcher, say hello to your new nightmare." Boom.
Whoa!
And it's like, well, you know what? Let's write some. I'm writing some notes down. Let's see. We're working on this. You're gonna flex on the Dreamcatcher, and then okay. I just wrote the first draft.
I promise you, because I take this stuff seriously. And when you see me in this Stargirl as Hourman, you're gonna be like, that's a superhero. I just saw Dark Phoenix, and I was like, Cyclops was never 5'7".
Yeah.
The X-Men are not little boys; they were men, and now I mean, there's not many American men in the business. However,
right. It's all Australians and British people.
Yeah.
The X-Men's always been tough because they've always been, whenever you join the X-Men in the comics, you are a teenager. Like those original first 5, they were teenagers and they were at the X-Mansion. And then when you had like the Chris Claremont introduction of the like 80s X-Men, they were introduced in the 70s, but the 80s X-Men, the new X-Men, they were all like international teenagers for the most part, except Wolverine, who's like 100 years old.
Gambit jumped in, though, didn't he?
Yeah, and he was
Early
a grown.
20s,
I think he was a grown adult because he
Yeah.
had like that romance with Rogue immediately, but Rogue had been like aged up. We're just gonna see how they do it with the.
It didn't work. I mean, Dark
with the
Phoenix
X-Men
was not effective. I'm sorry.
For a few reasons. It was clear they were trying to tell some version of a Skrull storyline, but then when they found out like the Skrulls were going to be in Captain Marvel, I heard that there was a lot of editing going on in Dark Phoenix to kind of like course correct what was happening parallel to Marvel. And now that it's all under one roof, I mean, Geekscapists who haven't finished WandaVision, I don't want to give you too many spoilers, but there's an appearance of an X-Men from the Fox universe in there that's fun, and we'll see how much of this stuff sticks. But I think there will be a cleaner introduction of the X-Men into the MCU as years progress, and they might not all happen in one big movie. I kind of hope they don't. I would like to see maybe like Storm introduced in the next Black Panther movie, which I guess is going to be a lot more about Wakanda, and it would be nice to introduce Charles Xavier as or some form of hints in the same way that they built the Avengers and built that whole MCU. It'd be nice to see these characters being put together in pieces.
But they got to cast it right. I mean,
they got to cast it right.
Gambit was no.
Van Damme's too old now. Van Damme can't play him anymore.
I mean, he would be amazing. But but Wolverine was not Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman was so good
6'1".
Yeah, he reinvented Wolverine, and essentially you saw his body progress over time. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I always wanted to play Eddie Brock, but oh well.
Eddie Brock would be great. I mean, they cast that film well. I don't know if they made the film well, but like I said on the last Geekscape, I'm optimistic with what Andy Serkis does with the second Venom movie, because He's
Who's
Andy
Andy Serkis
Serkis.
playing? He's directing.
Andy Serkis is directing it.
Interesting. I don't
Which-
know why Woody Harrelson. I mean, I love Woody, but I'm like, really? He's been in every movie ever made.
I think that
Like-
was more a relationship with the director because
Okay.
of Zombieland, etc. And
Okay.
it was cute, but
Yeah.
the Venom
Like, there's-
movie,
It's
and I do call it the Venom. Yeah, we went a little on to the Venom last episode or two, and
Okay.
it's not it wasn't a movie that I thought made a lot of sense on a narrative level.
I wish Carrot Top could act well, because that would be a great turn.
Plays a homicidal maniac with a symbiote.
Psychopath, dude.
It's just a psychopath. We'll find you a superhero to play, and
Yeah,
we'll
I'd
find
be
you something.
interested to see what people think. I've gotten like oh, he looks like Superman, blah blah blah. But I'm like, it'd be interesting to see. I just got a Chris Redfield. People kept commenting. I'm like, that'd be kind of cool from
Yeah.
Resident Evil. But
yeah, no,
you know.
yeah, I think video games are the next one to be mined. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They've been trying to mine them for a while, and I think it'll hit, and I think there'll be a universe eventually. You know, we'll see. Dude, we're running over time. I had the sirens go by and tell me 5-minute warning, but I can talk to you for hours. You're a legit geek, Lou. We share a lot of interest from being geeky about fitness, being geeky about superheroes, and we haven't even gotten into your art. Is there a place we can check out your art?
Ferrignoart.com. That's where the majority, and also Instagram at Ferrigno_art. That's where the majority of my work is. I got some Hulk pieces and some Batman pieces that are working that are going to be really cool.
Geekscapists, if you're watching the show on YouTube, Twitch, or on Facebook, you'll see that you can also follow Lou on social media at Lou Ferrigno Jr. He's a big friend of Geekscapes now. I love having him on the show, dude. You've been really, really great. And again, Dreamcatcher comes out on Friday. Check it out. If you're a horror fan, definitely check it out. It's a slasher. Maybe we can build it into a franchise and have Lou come back and give the Dreamcatcher a few nightmares of his own. Geekscape, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. Subscribe to any of the Geekscape shows. We got some really cool stuff coming up for y'all, even though we're still in the pandemic for a stretch. It's okay. We got some really cool events and live streams coming up, so be a part of it. And I'd love to have you back on the show, dude. It would be awesome to get you back for Nightshade to promote that one. It sounds like something you're really invested in.
You're doing great things, man. It's such a pleasure. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Dude, Lou, thanks, and Geekscape us over and out. Geekscape forever. Thanks so much.